St John Chrysostom, 340 to 407 AD. In his writings he alludes to the fact that Adam felt no pain when Eve was created from his side. For God caused a drowsiness to come upon Adam, so that the removal of Eve from his side was painless. The point which is most striking for us as Christians today to learn is that St John Chrysostom, a saint so well known in the Eastern Church, Archbishop of Constantinople, and spoken of as the Golden Preacher, clearly believed in the literal creation of Eve from the side of Adam. This view was commonplace in the early centuries of Christianity. The full text that he wrote is found in his homilies on Genesis. The relevant extract is as follows, and I quote, "Lest the experience cause him, that is Adam, pain, and afterwards he be badly disposed towards the creature formed him from his rib, and through memory of the pain bear a grudge against this being at its formation, God induced in him this kind of sleep. He caused a drowsiness to come upon him, and bid him be weighed down as though by some heavy weight. His purpose was that, far from allowing man to suffer any sense of what was happening, he should, like some excellent craftsman, do away with mere appearances, supply for any deficiencies, and in his own loving kindness create what had thus been taken from man. The text says, remember, God caused drowsiness to come upon Adam, and he slept. God took one of Adam's ribs and closed up the flesh in its place, so that after the release of sleep he could not feel the loss he was suffering. You see, even if he was unaware at the time of the removal, nevertheless afterwards he would be likely to realize what had happened. So lest he cause him pain in removing it, or the loss of it cause him any distress later, he thus provided for both eventualities by making the removal painless and supplying for the loss without letting him feel anything of what had happened. St. John Chrysostom's Homilies on Genesis. Clearly, St. John Chrysostom, like all of the early church fathers, believed that Eve was literally formed from the side of Adam. Adam and Eve in the beginning were truly one body, which by God's divine power became two. As Adam and Eve are our first parents, that is, the first parents of all humanity, certain questions naturally follow. How did Adam and Eve's sons get married? Or, to ask the questions so often posed in order to discredit the Bible, where did Cain's wife come from? Did Cain marry one of his sisters? Is it possible that Cain's wife and the wives of Adam and Eve's other sons was also formed from his side? In other words, was the blessing granted Adam and Eve in paradise, whereby Eve was formed from the side of her husband, passed on to their children, albeit in the fallen state of being subject to concupiscence and death? And so, although Cain's wife and the wives of Adam and Eve's other sons was his sister, he did not choose or marry her, for she was chosen for him by God. Although St. John Chrysostom did not mention in his writings such a reconstruction of marriage in those early days, he would, it is proposed, have been open to such a blessing having been bestowed upon the world by God. In his writings he simply states that Cain was married to one of his sisters, who was later born to Eve. Although it is most probable that St. John Chrysostom believed such a daughter was born directly from Eve's womb, he might also have pondered the notion of whether Cain's wife was later formed from the side of her husband by God, and so was, in addition, the daughter of Eve. In his writings he states, "But perhaps someone will say, how is it that Cain had a wife, when sacred scripture nowhere makes mention of another woman? Don't be surprised at this, dearly beloved. It has so far given no list of women anywhere in a precise manner. Instead, sacred scripture, while avoiding superfluous details, mentions the males in turn, though not even all of them, telling us about them in rather summary fashion when it says that so-and-so had sons and daughters and then he died. So it is likely, in this case too, that Eve gave birth to a daughter after Cain and Abel, and Cain took her for his wife. You see, since it was in the beginning, and the human race had to increase from then on, it was permissible to marry their own sisters." St John Chrysostom, Homilies on Genesis. In summary, from these his writings, it is clear that St John Chrysostom believed a. in the literal creation of Eve from the side of Adam, and b. that Cain and his wife really existed, that his wife was his sister, a daughter of Eve, who was begotten sometime after the birth of Cain. Building upon his writings and rejecting the hypothesis that the body of human beings evolved from the animal world, it is proposed that the book of Genesis wishes the reader to see that from the time of Adam and Eve up to Abraham and Sarah, the wife of each husband for a select number of couples was formed from the side of her groom. This, it is proposed, was true for Cain and for all of Adam and Eve's other sons. The wife of each son was begotten as a blessing by God from his side. Although she was his wife, she was in addition the daughter of her mother Eve and the sister of her husband. For a detailed examination of the evidence for what might be termed this nuptial state in the beginning of creation, please see the 6-part series on YouTube entitled Marriage in the Early Chapters of Genesis, or visit our website paraclete.ie.